Okay. Do I still need to speak in the microphone?
I can get.
Yeah.
Sir, please move a bit.
Move a bit?
Okay.
I'll be blocking you. Alright, I don't know how to stand in the center because I'll be blocking you. Yeah. My name is Wee Cee. I'm from Elston Publishing House. We are the publisher for the Outfit series. Yeah, I'm fine without my Okay, that's better. I was saying my name is Wee Cee. I'm from Elston Publishing House from Singapore. Right, we are the publisher for the Elfin ELT books and Best Friends. Right, so now I'm going to present Elfin. May I just check how many of you? I know the school have received the samples, but may I check whether you have already looked through the book? Yeah? Okay, great. Any comment? Any comment?
Yeah, it's quite complicated, especially for the first and second and third grade.
Okay.
It is quite complicated because there's more pictures. So it's not really very practical.
Okay. Alright. So is the school, approach to English more towards a communicative approach, teaching students the 4 skills: reading, listening, speaking, writing, and of course grammar and vocabulary? Okay. So you have all those, right?
Yeah,
Alright.
4 skills.
4 skills, exactly. Yeah. Okay, great. So I will quickly run through the presentation, right? Because how much time you have? Wait, no, you don't want to say that to me. You ask them, I can take 3 hours to do this. Yeah. So I will try to finish everything within 1 hour, right? Okay. Elfin. So I will focus a lot more on the instructional strategies of Elfin, and then I will, for the last 3 points, I will briefly describe on the vocabulary instruction strategies and the teacher support and the assessment, right? So Elfin, you can actually easily tell the book 1 and 2 is in yellow, orange. Book 3 and 4 green, and book 5 and 6 in blue, right? And if you look at the top, it says learning English for everyday communications. And then for book 3 and 4 is learning English for a world of fun, and 5 and 6 is learning English for academic subjects, right? For academic subjects means CLIL, Content Language Integrated Learning, CLIL, right? So we incorporate those academic subjects in it. And the reason why we structured it into these 3 ways is for young students in grade 1 and 2, they are just learning English, right? We want to introduce vocabulary, we want to introduce scenarios that is around that, like about myself, but in learning English for a world of fun in
grade 3 and 4, we introduce more things that is surrounding them in the community, like amusement park, like the things that they are slightly further than their home, right? So from very close to them to introducing them to more things in the world. And of course, in grade 5 and 6, we incorporate the academic subjects, right? CLIL, right? Because at this time, they will probably get in touch a lot more in English. And you know English is, yes, it is a language, but it is also a language that in the working world, you talk about science, you talk about math, geography, and all these things. So, and there are special terms that you use in English for these subjects. Okay, so I mentioned it is an integrated skill approach. Actually, if you look at the teacher's guide, it's very clear. We have the learning outcome, the word list, grammar, and the main expression. And obviously, we incorporate the 4 skills, right? Reading, listening, speaking, writing. And one key thing is, we also incorporate a lot of activities. We know that students, especially when English is not the mother tongue, sometimes it's very difficult to get them to speak. Right? You have difficulty. I understand because I'm a Chinese educator in Singapore. During my time, we still got Chinese educator, right? Yeah, and I don't speak English in school, right? And I have difficulty learning English also. So I understand what are the situations that the student, when you don't have the English speaking background, so it's very challenging. So when we publish the book, we introduce activities. We teach, we get them to sing song, we get them to chant, and then we use the same language, same vocabulary, and we design activities for them to do. So that when they need to participate in the activities, the vocabulary are already introduced and are already taught. Right? So we are not expecting them to say things that they don't know. Okay. The instructional strategies, I will talk more on vocabulary instructions. Then you have the thematic-based instruction and the content-based instruction in 5 and 6. So in grade 1 to 4, you can find that the themes, the topics that we choose is something that the kids are familiar, right? It is something that they will be excited about. Yeah. So for book 1, for example, let's say we look at chapter 1. It is about farm animal, right? So what I'm going through is I'm using chapter 1 of book 1, and I'll run through and I'll explain what we do in Alfie, all right? So first activity is look and learn. It introduces new words to the student. This is about farm animal. So obviously, you are all ELT English teacher, right? You know exactly what to do already, right? Yeah. So you play the audio. There will be an audio component. So I'm introducing the new edition to you, right? In the new edition, we don't provide CD anymore because nowadays CD very difficult to find, and CD player even more difficult to find, right? So we use MP3, right? MP3, you can download, you can play on your phone, you can do anything you want, right? It's a lot easier. So there is always a CD icon there, which means you can play the music. So there will be voice. The student the audio will play the voice, and as a teacher, you can point to the words, and you can do many activities. So the teacher's guide will give you suggestions, right? showing an example of the teacher's guide. So what I show there is the student book, and this is the teacher's guide, and it's segmentized. So every segment we will have the suggested activities, what you can do with the student to make it more fun. Yeah. And we also incorporate the second column. It's called teacher's script. Right? I mean, obviously for experienced teacher, you know what to do, you know what to say, you know how to get the student to pay attention to you, right? To participate in the activity. But sometimes to new teachers, so this will be very helpful. Like what are the things you can say to the student to attract their attention, and that is relevant to what you are teaching. So the first activity is look and learn. Second activity is let's do it. So immediately after you learn, there is a reinforcement. So let's do it. But if you look carefully, the vocabulary are the same. Right? It's something they already listen, they already repeat, right? And now they practice. Then it follows by a listen and read, where again you play the audio, and the audio will read a short passage. So from single vocabulary, now the vocabulary is reused into a passage. Right? So it's slowly, progressively, we bring the student, introduce the vocabulary, and introduce how the vocabulary are being used in a meaningful passage. Then you have the chant, right? So I think that one very familiar, right? All the teachers who play the audio, they will play a short passage for chanting. Then further on, we introduce more vocabulary, everyday vocabulary. So this is first chapter. We introduce things like good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and we get students to practice on the next activity. So there is always an introduction, there's always a scene, and the teacher's guide will of course explain more about what you can do with this scene. And then after you use the word, this word is being practiced. So you can get the student to form a partner, a pair work. You know, I say good morning and you say good morning, yeah. Right. So you practice, right? Yeah, you take turns. Okay, then this part we introduce grammar, like a cat, two cats, three cats, right? A dog, two dogs, three dogs, right? Yeah. Plural, singular. Dog, two dogs. What did I say? Did I say wrongly? Okay, sorry. Okay, so if you follow just now what I mentioned was the first activity is you listen to vocabulary, you repeat, listen, speak, right? Read, of course. There's also a passage that is being read to you, and then you listen and you read back. And here is the writing, right? Let's write. So under let's write, because this is the first activity, there will be selected activities that students we will have cut out, not sticker, cut out. Cut out meaning we print here, we expect the students to use scissors, cut and paste. So they can, this activity is very simple. And you can see in this is grade 1. So there is a lot of blank space. Sorry, a lot of words with limited blank space. This is scaffolding. We do not expect the student to write a short passage immediately. That is probably impossible. This is first chapter, right? So we provide scaffolding, we create the paragraph with words, but what the student do is actually an activities. Right? So Let me read to you. The paragraph says, "This is my farm. I have 4 blank, 3 blank, 2 blank, and a blank. In the evening, the animal says blank." Right? So, there are 4 chicken, cow, hen, duck. Right? So it's up to the student to cut and paste. So maybe I choose 4 ducks. Maybe you choose 4 hen. Right? And then you choose 2 cow. Right? So you take and you paste on the book, and then you write a short paragraph. So there is activity and writing. So we try to make learning English fun. It's an activity that they will enjoy. Under the review, we will review the 4 skills. Right? Review is the last exercise in the textbook. Right? Again, you have listen and choose. So you listen to the audio. If it says it's a sheep or a donkey, then you choose the correct one. Yeah. And there are also fill in the blanks. Good afternoon. So what will be the next your person will say? Right. So there is an activity for you to practice communication, speaking. Then C is writing short sentences. So there are 2 dogs. There is a cat. There are 2 cows. Right? And the 4th activity, D, is one of the vocabulary strategy. You have all the words there, and the student have to find the words that join together to form an animal. This is the workbook. In Alfin, the textbook incorporate workbook. Yeah, it's all together, right? In the teacher's guide, obviously, it will tell you when to use the worksheet, which worksheets to use. You just follow the teacher's guide, everything is there, right? So the first activity on your left, is practicing tracing and penmanship. That's why we have the writing lines for the student to practice. And then fill in the blanks, short, very, very short matching sentences. So from grade 1 and 2, we move on to grade 3 and 4. So grade 4 is introducing English in the world of fun. So the example we use is an amusement park. Right. So in the amusement park, of course we introduce an amusement park, and then you look at the bottom, you have the vocabulary with some space being, the spelling, the space being left out. But there is a photograph or illustration to help the student to see. Right? Which book are you using? You're looking at 1 and 2. So 3 and 4 will have this. 1 and 2 don't have. Yeah. So, just the first chapter is the amusement park. So the way we design 1 and 2 is the same. Then 3 and 4 different. 3 and 4 is the same but different from 1 and 2. Right? Because we want to have scaffolding. In the book 1 and 2, we don't even ask them to spell. Right? But in 3 and 4, we ask them to spell, but with scaffolding. Right? We help them. Balloon. I think the first word is balloon, or the hot dog. We left out the H, the T, and the D. Right? But the student can see the picture hot dog. Right? So they can from there have a clue how to spell. Then you can see the reading passage is a little bit longer now, right, from grade 3 to 4. Yeah. So it's progressively we make sure the student learn longer passages, longer words, need to do more things. And this is a reading passage, and the 3 boxes here actually is asking what can you do at the amusement park. Because sometimes when you look at textbook, some textbook, the way they design is everything is there, right? You read, you practice, you do, but you don't put in the personal experience. Right? So here we try to put in personal experience. Okay, so you know about amusement park. Then maybe Indonesia, the amusement park a little bit different. You probably, something you have, something you don't have, right? Something you have more.
We don't have anything.
I think students will probably watch TV and they will know, right? Yeah. And then you ask them, what do you want to do in the amusement park? Right? So now imagine you are going to the amusement, what do you want to do? So there is a personal interest. Yeah, we get students to express. Personal, we make the experience personal. Yeah. So that is important to the student. So from the amusement park, we introduce more vocabulary, more expressions. So in this exercise on the left, it's about left, right, go straight. Right. So when you walk into a park, when you go straight, what do you see? You see a carousel. When you go right, you see a roller coaster. When you go left, you see something else. Right? It's brought by the text, right? Yeah. So basically, we want the student to express the direction with a context. Right? Later, we actually have another game that to do with direction as well. And role play. So in English ELT, role play is one strategy, right? You get students to pretend to be someone, and then they will say the conversation, the communication based on the character. And under Let's Do It, we use simple graphic organizer to help students formulate their ideas. So now if you are at the amusement park, where do you go first? Right? And ask your friend the questions, this question, then write their answers below. Right? So again, we want to practice. You teach them amusement park, you teach them all the different things you can find in the amusement park. So now you want to find a friend, ask them to find a friend to ask them this question. So in a way, you are giving them the opportunity to practice English. Right? We are not saying, okay, why don't you read passage 1, and then why don't you read the second paragraph? But we teach you, but why don't you and your friend discuss what you want to do? Right? So you're getting them to say the things you want to say, but then now become more fun. Right? I want to do this, or you want to do something else. But why don't you go with me? Right? And I want to bring out one key point is when we use the graphic organizer, we do not expect the student to form paragraph. We are basically helping them to organize the ideas. The paragraphs come later. Okay, the left side is more practice on direction. The right side is getting them to practice grammar. So if you look at the top part, the one in the box is an example. So when we ask students to do something, we always give an example. Of course, the teacher will explain, but when you ask them to do, there's an example, and then they can do the rest of the questions. This is come to writing. So writing is always the last skill, right? It's the most difficult one. Yeah. So imagine, remember just now in grade 1 and 2, we get the student to base animal, and then ask them to construct, fill in the blank, so that they form composition, right? But with very minimum effort. Now, okay, I don't know whether you can see, the words are dotted. We want them to trace. And they still fill in the blanks, but we want them to trace. So if you look at book 3 and 4, you will see that. Okay. So we want them to trace so that they practice writing as well. Right? Once they practice writing and fill in the blank, we want them to get used to writing a paragraph. And then this is another game that we designed. So in this game, sorry, I can't read the words. Can I have book 3? Book 3. Yeah, it says, help! How do I get out of the haunted house? Okay, so this is, I just reading from the text. It says, go straight, turn left, and go straight. Then you see the skeleton, turn right, then turn right again, go straight, at the candle, turn left. Door, blank, is the exit. So if you understand the instruction, the direction, you will have the correct door, correct exit, right? So you can get students to play games like that. Right? And of course from here, if you have time, you can always design your own. Right? Because we only use one of the exit as the correct answer. Right? Imagine there are 6 exits here. You can have 6 scenarios if you have time.
Yeah, that's the problem.
No, but sometimes when the students are excited, it's also good to keep them going. Then they find that English should be fun. Instead of, I don't know, it's another difficult language lesson, right? And here, after class activities, so we are still in the amusement park chapter. So the line there, the square there, actually asks you to draw or paste a photo of what you want to do in the amusement park. So this is another example of we make activity personalized to the students. Okay, same review, and now it's slightly more difficult. We get them to fill in the crossword puzzle with a clue, and in the sentence, we still don't expect them to write full sentence, but we give them the words, and then they have to use the word, rearrange them to form the correct sentence structure. This is workbook activities, okay, 5 and 6. So 5 and 6, remember I say we incorporate academic subjects. So it could be geography, it could be science, it could be history, it could be ICT, right, in the chapters. So this example use desert as an example. So we introduce thematic vocabulary. So when you talk about desert, maybe you want to talk about climate, maybe you want to talk about temperature, maybe you want to talk about sands, the lakes or river. Some of the desert used to be not desert, right? Yeah, now desert. You can have a lot of discussion over there. And in the activities, so now you realize the text get longer, and of course come with the nice graphics as well. But what I want to focus is really the last 2 activities here. So tell me about it. Very simple Q&A in the class. So can you please tell me which desert is the largest? A very simple conversation as a prompt to the teacher. But it is related to the passage. And even if the student cannot read all the words, they can still look at the picture and give you the answer. Right? So all the brown area, there are all the different deserts, and you just need to find the biggest one. Right? Yeah, Sahara Desert, that's right. Yeah. The fun chat. Why we create a fun chat? So you are learning about desert. So the first two paragraphs basically say the people in the desert wear certain clothing to protect them from the sun and the sand. Right? So imagine now you want to go to the desert. What do you want to wear? So some kids of course give you the textbook answer. Oh, I will cover myself, and all that. But some kids will be, no, I want to go in shorts and short sleeve. That is because it's very hot, right? Because it's very hot, yeah. Yep. Yeah, bring aircon. Yeah. So, but it's okay, because you are learning language. Right? You want them to express. You don't want to tell them, no, this is the wrong answer. But you want them to, okay, you want to wear shorts and short sleeve because it's very hot. Okay, why? Why, right? And then give your reason, get them excited about what they want to wear. Some may want to wear jeans, right? So it's okay. It's okay to get them to talk. So because the most difficult thing for language is first get them to read, right? After that is get them to talk. Okay, in the reading comprehension, here we actually help students, we use graphical concept to help students organize the desert into different sorry, I can't read the word. Yeah. But basically the idea is help the student organize their thoughts, right? And from there, they will be able to continue later, and then we do the language practice. Yeah. And we, in the book 5 and book 6, every chapter ends with an experiment or research. Right? So experiment could be something that the whole class can participate. And then from there, this is about desert, and this one is, I think, got to do with get the student to have sands, and then to shine the hot light onto the sand and measure the temperature every 10 minutes. Right? And then after that, you turn off the light, and then you measure the temperature every 10 minutes again. So to simulate real desert, right? And discussion is to encourage students to develop English speaking skills with thought-provoking questions. Yeah. So the way we design the activity is always giving the student innovation and thought-provoking, so that meaning we do not expect them to follow the right answer all the time, because that makes learning really, really boring, especially for language, right? But that doesn't mean we don't teach them the right thing. We still teach them the right thing, but we want to give them the freedom to express, right? Okay, so for book 5 and book 6, we have text type. So in the writing, we introduce text type. So let me just, can I have this book? Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. So I just want to highlight the different text type. So this is for book 5 and book 6. Yeah. So the text type here is informal letter, email, magazine report,
Factual report, description, explanation, opinion, right? And this is a viewpoint, it belongs to opinion. Yeah. There are different text types in 5 and 6, and text types are important because when we write, we don't just always write novel, we don't just write story all the time. We write email, we write report. Factual report is different from magazine report. It's different from personal recount. Personal recount is more like a diary, right? So there are different styles of writing, and these are different text types that is introduced in the English language. Also, if you look at the color boxes, this is where we organize the page for the student. So this is what you should do. Right? So you can see all the example here. Yeah. So we basically, it's okay. Yeah. So we basically help students organize their thoughts. Right? Because writing composition, I'm sure you have this experience that when you are in class, some students, when they submit their composition to you, you will probably give a comment, it's all over the place. Right? The point is here, there, everywhere. Where is your conclusion? Where is your, what are you trying to say? You say something here and then you say the same thing here again. Right? Yeah. So the organizer is to help students organize their thoughts. Right? It's just like in composition, you need to plan. Right? You need to plan what is your opening, what is your body, what is your conclusion. Right? So this is basically trying to do that. It's actually all the
Bluetooth mode.
So in the workbook, we also organize the writing part for the student so that they can practice. So let me talk about the support for teachers. Obviously, the teacher's guide I mentioned just now is very detailed. The first part will talk about the learning outcome. Right? There's always a learning outcome in every chapter. The learning objective, what you want the student to achieve. Right? And you will have things like the language focus. Is it listening, speaking? Because different chapter, especially for younger children, not every chapter can have 4 skills. Right? Yeah. So we tell you what are the language focus, what are the vocabulary, what are the material needed for these lessons. So it's all here already. And then, of course, this is a repetition of the student book. But the teacher's guide will have all the answers. All the answers is given in the teacher's guide. Right? Then the lesson plan. So during warm-up, what should you do? Right? There's always a warm-up for every class. And then when you go into the lesson proper, what you should do and what you can say. I wouldn't say what you should say, but what you can say. Right? It's suggestions. Right? Like I say, if you have new teachers, this will become very useful. Right? It serves as a form of training as well. But of course, if you are experienced, you already know what to say, and no. Yeah. Okay. I will skip this is vocabulary strategy. So I think you already know this. Vocabulary, you have start words, you have different way of introducing vocabulary. Some you just need to memorize, like start words, right? Some you can use other activities to help students understand. We have flashcards. Flashcards are downloadable. Yeah. Let me show you what are downloadable.
Right. And every unit, you can grade the students. You can fill in what you think about the students. So all the points, the four highlighted lines are reading, speaking, listening, and writing. The 4 skills, right? And I think I have a bigger slide to show you. So N is student need more time to develop skills. D is student are making steady progress, and A is achieving. Students are proficient. So these are some of the markers that you can use to track the students' progress. And you can grade the students. So some school, they use this to communicate with the parents, right? So instead of, maybe some parents are busy, right? But you can use this to tell the parent what's happening to your kids in our school. They might find learning very stressful, right? So when you observe the student, you can actually mark out all these progress for the parents. Shall I move on to next one? Any question?
Mr.
Just call me Wee Cee,
Oh,
Mr. Sim. Just call me Wee Cee.
Yeah, a little bit unfamiliar for me. Well, actually, I have some questions.
Sure.
Well, actually, three questions. The simplest one is, why is it named Alvin? So, or do you have any figure which figure Alvin, or like what, animations, or like what? Yeah, you can answer me later.
Okay.
After I ask you all my
Okay.
questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the first one is, why is it named Alvin? And the second one is, English, learning English. It means we learn language, right? And language, we learn language, which is we learn culture. Yeah. How, if we agree to use your book, how do you deal with our demands, like the pictures that we are not suitable with it? Yeah, you know, sensitivity. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you for
Okay. Yeah, that's the first.
Because you know, we know that Cordova is a Islamic based education school, sir. Yeah. Yeah. We're talking about sensitivity and the pictures and all of the the team of your books. Yeah. If we agree to use your book,